Have you ever wondered why we call it spelling when we arrange letters to form words? Why not lettering or word making? This seemingly innocent question opens a doorway into one of the most profound mysteries of human consciousness, the relationship between language, reality, and power. For millennia, mystical traditions across cultures have understood something that modern society has forgotten. Language is not merely a communication tool. It is a technology of consciousness, a framework that shapes how we perceive and interact with reality itself. The words we use, the grammar we follow, the very act of writing, all of these create patterns in our minds and in the world around us. Let's start with something fundamental, the alphabet itself. Where does this sequence of symbols come from, and why do we organize them in this particular way? The word alphabet derives from the first two letters of ancient Phoenician writing, Aleph and Beth. Aleph represented an ox, symbolizing strength and primal creative force. Beth meant house or dwelling, representing structure and containment. Together, they suggest a profound concept. The alphabet is about containing raw creative power within structured forms. Think about what happens when you learn to read and write. You're not simply learning a neutral skill. You're being initiated into a specific way of organizing thought. Each letter is a symbol, a character. And notice that word. A character is something that plays a role, a mask, a constructed identity. When we use these characters, we're channeling our thoughts through pre-existing patterns that were established long before we were born. Ancient scribes understood this power intimately. In Egypt, scribes were members of the priestly class. In medieval Europe, literacy was controlled by religious institutions. Why? Because those who control the symbols control the narrative. Those who control the narrative control reality as it's perceived by the masses. Consider the act of writing itself. We use a pen, etymologically connected to penna, meaning feather, symbolizing air and intellect. In esoteric traditions, the wand is the magician's tool for directing intention and will. Your pen is your modern wand. You inscribe marks onto paper, creating permanent records that outlive the spoken word. But notice something curious. We don't call it lettering or word forming. We call it spelling. In every other context, a spell is an invocation, an enchantment, a way of bending reality through focused intention and specific formulas. Yet somehow, we accept without question that arranging letters is called spelling. And if we arrange them incorrectly, we've misspelled. We've broken the formula. This isn't coincidental. Language carries within it the memory of its own power. The word spell comes from old Germanic roots meaning to tell or to speak, but it's always carried connotations of binding and magical operation. When you spell a word correctly, you're reproducing an exact pattern. When you misspell it in school, you're corrected because the formula must be precise. Now let's examine something even more foundational: grammar. You spent years in grammar school learning the rules that govern how words fit together. But have you ever questioned what grammar actually is? The word grammar comes through French from Latin grammaticar, meaning the art of letters. But here's where it gets interesting. This same root evolved into another word in medieval times: grimoire. A grimoire is a textbook of magic, a manual containing instructions for rituals, invocations, and magical operations. Grammar and grimoire are linguistic siblings. When you learn grammatical rules, you're learning how to construct meaning in sanctioned ways. Subject, verb, object. The subject acts upon the object through the verb. This isn't just description, it's a framework for understanding cause and effect, agency and passivity. power and submission. The education system doesn't teach grammar to liberate your expression. It teaches grammar to standardize your expression. It ensures that everyone constructs meaning in compatible ways, that we all process reality through the same syntactic structures. This creates a shared mental operating system, making populations predictable and manageable. But language operates on more than just symbolic levels. It operates through sound, through vibration, through frequency. Your voice is a physical instrument that creates pressure waves in the air. These waves have measurable effects on matter. A field of study called cymatics demonstrates how sound creates geometric patterns in physical substances. Every word you speak generates a specific frequency pattern. Ancient traditions understood this. Sanskrit mantras, Gregorian chants, the Muslim call to prayer all utilize specific sound patterns believed to have effects beyond mere communication. Now consider the words you use daily. Many of them carry phonetic patterns that may influence your consciousness in subtle ways. You go to work in the morning, phonetically indistinguishable from mourning, a state of grief. You say hello, incorporating hell and low into your greeting. These aren't just homophones. At the level of vibration, your vocal cords are producing the same frequency patterns regardless of your intended meaning. The universe responds to frequency, not to intention. If you're constantly vibrating patterns associated with grief, lowness, and struggle, you're programming your environment and your consciousness with those qualities. Let's examine how language structures your experience of time. You divide your life into weeks, 7-day cycles inherited from Babylonian astronomy and ancient Near Eastern religion. Each day bears the name of a celestial body or deity. Monday for the moon, Saturday for Saturn, Sunday for the sun. But notice something. Week is phonetically identical to week. You live within a week that culminates in the weekend, when your strength ends. This isn't about the etymology being literally connected. It's about how your subconscious mind processes these phonetic patterns. At a pre-rational level, you're hearing that time itself diminishes you. Saturday, the final day of the traditional work week, honors Saturn, the Roman god of time, restrictions, and boundaries. Saturn is often depicted as the grim reaper, carrying a scythe to harvest life. In symbolism, Saturn represents limitation, structure, and the passage that leads to death. When you live for the weekend, you're symbolically offering your weekly energy to the principle of limitation itself. Now we must venture into uncomfortable territory, the relationship between language and legal identity. This is where the metaphorical and the literal intersect in disturbing ways. In grammar, a sentence is a complete thought. In law, a sentence is a punishment. Why do these concepts share a word? Because every sentence you speak is a declaration, a judgment, a defining of terms. When you say, "I am tired," "I am broke," "I am stuck," you're passing sentence on yourself. You're defining the boundaries of your experience. The legal system operates through a specialized form of English that sounds like ordinary language, but carries technical meanings. When an authority figure asks, "Do you understand?" they're not asking if you comprehend. In legal contexts, understand can mean to stand under, to accept the position beneath someone else's authority. Your answer places you within a jurisdictional framework. Notice how your legal name appears on official documents in all capital letters. In ancient Roman law, writing a name in all capitals indicated a different legal status than a name in normal case. The all caps name is a legal fiction, a corporate entity, a representation rather than the living person. This is why legal systems refer to persons, from the Latin persona, meaning mask or character in a play. You're taught to identify completely with this legal fiction. You respond to it, you sign its name, you accept debts in its name. But this entity exists only on paper, in the realm of contracts and commercial transactions. Here's where it gets even stranger. Much of our commercial and legal language derives from maritime law, the law of the seas, of shipping and trade. You were born, arriving through your mother's birth canal. You were issued a birth certificate, a certificate documenting that a new vessel arrived at the port of commerce. Throughout your life, you maintain citizenship, position on the ship, ownership, position on the ship, relationships, positions on the ship. You're swimming in a sea of commerce, governed by the flow of currency, the current, the flow of water and energy. When you take out a mortgage, you're making a death pledge, from French mort meaning death and gage meaning pledge. You work to earn a living, phonetically similar to urn, a vessel for ashes of the deceased. An undertaker buries the dead. The language of commerce is saturated with symbols of death and debt.
Let's discuss cursive writing, that flowing style where letters connect in unbroken chains. Why is this specific style mandatory for legal signatures? Why does cursive sound like curse? Both words derive from Latin currere, meaning to run or to flow. But consider what cursive does. It eliminates the space between letters. Each character flows into the next in an unbroken stream. You're creating a continuous loop, a binding chain. When you sign your name in cursive, you're symbolically chaining your identity to whatever document you're signing. This connects to currency, the flow of money, and current, the flow of electricity. The system requires your energy to flow continuously, without break, through its circuits of commerce. Cursive writing trains your hand and mind to accept continuous flow without pause or interruption. You become the conductor of your own energy into external systems. So, we arrive at the critical question: if language is a control system, how do you escape it? The answer isn't to stop speaking. Language is how humans create shared meaning and coordinate action. The answer is to become conscious of how you're using language and to reclaim intentionality in your word choices. First, recognize that you're not obligated to accept every definition handed to you. You can question the stories embedded in words. You can choose alternatives. You can notice when you're using language that diminishes your agency or defines you as powerless. Second, understand the power of declaration. The phrase, "I am," is perhaps the most potent construction in language. Whatever follows "I am" becomes a self-definition, a filter through which you interpret experience. "I am overwhelmed" creates a different reality than "I am processing information." "I am stuck" creates a different reality than "I am considering my options." Third, reclaim silence. You don't have to respond to every question. You don't have to fill every pause. Silence isn't empty. It's the space in which consciousness rests before taking form. In a world of constant linguistic programming, silence is rebellion. Fourth, remember that you are not identical to your legal name, your job title, your social security number, or any other label. These are interfaces, masks, tools for navigating social systems. They're useful, but they're not the totality of what you are. The awareness reading these words existed before you learned language and will continue after the words fade. Ancient traditions speak of the logos, the word that existed before creation, the organizing principle of reality itself. This isn't the same as the words in dictionaries. It's the creative intent behind language, the consciousness that gives birth to meaning. When you speak from that place of conscious intention, language becomes a tool of liberation rather than imprisonment. You're not reciting scripts, you're creating them. You're not accepting definitions, you're authoring them. Notice that word, authority, contains author. You cannot have true authority without being the author of your own narrative. This doesn't mean rejecting grammar or making up nonsense words. It means using language with full awareness, treating words as powerful tools rather than unconscious habits. It means noticing the stories embedded in everyday phrases and choosing whether to perpetuate them. We've journeyed through the hidden architecture of language, from the alphabet's origins to legal fictions, from the vibrations of sound to the flow of cursive writing. The purpose isn't to make you paranoid about every word you speak. The purpose is to wake you up to the profound power of language in shaping consciousness and reality. You are not merely a consumer of language, you are a creator with language. Every sentence you speak is an act of world building. The question is whether you're building consciously or unconsciously, whether you're following someone else's script or writing your own. The prison bars were always made of words, and words can be rearranged, redefined, and transcended. The key to freedom isn't somewhere outside you, it's in the awareness you bring to each moment, each word, each choice of how to describe your experience. So watch your words, not from a place of fear, but from a place of power, because you are the author of your reality, and reality is listening.